I request all the volunteers to keep their cameras on so that we can make this an interactive session. Hello everyone, I, Ananya Zantkar, on behalf of the NSS unit of KJ Somaiya College of Arts and Commerce Autonomous, shall be your host for today's session. I warmly welcome our Honorable In Charge Principal, Dr. Veena Sanekar ma'am, our respected program officers, CA Amol Bhosle sir, and Professor Dipali Toraskar ma'am, our respected committee members, volunteers, and all the attendees present for day 2 of Menstrual Hygiene webinar. I take immense pride and admiration to introduce our facilitators, Ms. Jiniya Chatterjee and Ms. Ashwati Nair. Both the facilitators are a part of the Panleague Foundation, which is a non-profit organization that creates menstrual hygiene awareness, talks about myths and superstitions related to it, concerning taboos and more, as it is one of the most crucial issues India faces today and conducts numbers of campaigns to spread this awareness. At this foundation, they were trained under the Chandrapali initiative to make people aware of different aspects of menstruation and facilitate various sessions. In yesterday's session, we learned about why and how menstruation takes place, different menstrual products and its sustainability, difference between sex and gender, as well as menstrual hygiene. This being one of the most important topics to put light upon. Our team sincerely hopes that this session benefits all present over here. Ms. Jiniya and Ms. Ashwati are certified menstrual health educators under the Panleague Foundation. We are truly glad to have them over here. I request all the attendees to ask their questions about the session through the YouTube live chat box that shall be answered towards the end of the session. Now I request Ms. Ashwati and Ms. Jiniya to begin with the session. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much for that. Hello, everyone. Once again, I would request all of you all to turn on your cameras so we can have an interactive session. And, Jiniya and I as facilitators can understand if you all are grasping the concept. So it would be great if everyone turned on their cameras. All right, I'm just going to let you all know the flow of today's workshop, which is going to have PCOS and PCOD, vaginal discharge, pills, all about pills, when you should, are they safe, are they not, pills to delay your periods. And we also have nutrition for what kind of nutritions you can have during your periods and things that will help you out. So, okay, now let's get into an activity here. It's a very calming activity. What I want you all to do is I want you all to imagine your safe place right now, a place where you are calm, you feel understood, and you are very ready to welcome, and you're ready to welcome more knowledge into your life. You're ready to learn and unlearn new things. That is very important for today's session. You need to understand, you need to grasp everything we are teaching today because it's very informative. So I invite you all to close your eyes and just take few deep breaths with us. Breathe in, breathe out. Take a deep breath in, breathe out. Do this for 30 seconds. Just imagine your safe place where no one can judge you. You can learn all you want. You can question all you want. Deep breaths in, breathe out. Now slowly open your eyes. All right. So let's get ready to get into a beautiful session today. We will be starting with Jiniya. So, Jiniya, why don't you take it ahead?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ashwati, for guiding us into our safe space. And it's very important for us to be in the right frame of mind because, as Ashwati mentioned in the beginning, the topics that we are going to cover today are a little bit heavy with information. And in order to understand more about menstruation, about menstrual hygiene, these are also some aspects that we need to understand apart from the basics that we covered in the session yesterday. So, can I request Bhairavi or Ananya to please share the screen? So thank you so much everyone for joining in on day two. We had a lovely participation yesterday and we are hoping to get the same kind of response even today as well. So I will let you know when I need you to give me your responses. But until then, would just request you to sit back, relax, and just absorb and take in all the information that we will be talking about in our session today. So this is Decoding Menstruation Day 2. And the first topic that we are going to start with today is the difference between PCOS and PCOD. Can I have the next slide, please? Yes. So I am sure many of us here would have heard about these two terms, PCOS and PCOD. If I can just quickly get some responses in the chat box, how many of you have heard of it? How many of you know of it? If you have heard of it, just write you have heard of it, or if you know it, whatever you know of it, any key terms, key phrases, anything that you might know about it, just so that I understand what the general idea is that you know about it. Okay, some of you definitely have heard of it. Also, the non-menstruators here, if you can also reply and let me know whether you have known anyone with the condition, whether you have heard someone talking about it. Okay, many of you have heard of it. That's nice. That's nice. Wonderful. So, in the Google form that was circulated to you, there were some questions that had come in about PCOS versus PCOD. So, first we'll be understanding what these two different concepts include, what these conditions are, and then we'll understand what the difference between the two is. So, for example, we started by talking about sex and gender yesterday. The two terms are interrelated, but they definitely have a world of difference between them. Similarly, PCOS and PCOD are very similar because PCOD refers to polycystic ovarian disease, whereas PCOS refers to polycystic ovarian syndrome. And that is where the main difference lies. The terms might be used interchangeably by some, but again, there is a serious difference which we are now getting into. First, starting with PCOD or polycystic ovarian disease. The first slide, as you can see on the screen. So this is a condition in which the ovaries, if you can just think back to the diagram we had done yesterday, the two ovaries on both the sides of the reproductive system, every month these ovaries release eggs alternately, right? In PCOD, what happens is the ovaries release immature eggs, right? So if you have a normal menstruation cycle, then the eggs will be fully formed versus someone with this condition, their ovaries will release eggs which are not fully developed. They are immature eggs, which eventually turn into cysts, right? And that is where the problem arises here. The ovaries become enlarged, and what they do is they secrete large amounts of androgen, and androgen is the male hormone. So this is something that we need to understand, that along with your estrogen and progesterone, which is released in the female reproductive system in order to maintain the flow and the balance of the body, the female body also produces small amounts of male hormones. This is to ensure the balance within the body. But in PCOD, what happens is this amount of androgens is much larger, right? And the common symptoms of PCOD, because of the androgens being larger, are weight gain. That's one of the very commonly seen symptoms in those with PCOD. Then you have hair loss, which is male pattern hair loss. So there is some kind of balding around the scalp that you might notice. Also, irregular periods. That's another very common symptom that is observed in people with this condition. And in some cases, it might lead to infertility. So this is a condition, as the last word in this PCOD suggests, it's a disease. Okay. And so therefore the severity of this condition is lesser than PCOS. I will explain what PCOS is, but we need to understand first that this condition of PCOD, the severity is much lesser. And so the good thing is that it can be managed with the right kind of diet and exercise. So mainly if you see people with PCOD or PCOS, they usually have conditions like obesity or very unnatural kind of weight gain. So if that person can manage their weight with the right kind of diet and exercise, then PCOD can be managed. And so therefore, this condition might not lead to infertility in all women. If it is managed if it's diagnosed at the right time, and if it is given the correct kind of treatment, then PCOD, I mean, can be managed. And if a person with PCOD chooses to get pregnant, they can with the right kind of guidance. This is all about, this is like a brief overview about PCOD. Of course, there is much more to it, but I'm just trying to explain to you the major differences with respect to the severity, the occurrence, and the other aspects. Can I have the next slide, please? Right, now coming to PCOS or polycystic ovarian syndrome. So again, here the term syndrome denotes that the severity of PCOS is much more than that of PCOD. So here as well, the ovaries are producing large amounts of androgens, the male hormones, which is causing a hormonal disbalance in the body. There is an imbalance of hormones, and therefore PCOS becomes a much more serious problem. PCOS is a metabolic disorder because, as I mentioned, it's a condition that's developed by irregularities in the hormones that are produced in the body, and it's a disorder of the endocrine system, right? In this case, conception can be a challenge because the severity is much more here. Someone who is choosing to get pregnant might face challenges in conception because of the severity of PCOS. And in some cases, PCOS can also lead to type 2 diabetes. Now, why I say this, in brackets, I have mentioned insulin resistance. So this can be observed in both conditions, either PCOD or PCOS. That one of the causes, even though doctors have not really been able to locate a specific reason why this happens in the body, some of the doctors have found that this can be genetic. Some have also found that this condition occurs in those who have insulin resistance in their body. And what do I mean by that? It means that your body does not have the ability to absorb sugars from whatever food you are eating. The blood is not able to absorb that sugar properly, and because of that, this insulin, again, is the insulin absorption is imbalanced, and so people with PCOS can ultimately also have type 2 diabetes if they do not manage their diet properly. So just like many of you might have known people who have diabetes, it's not something that can be cured. It is something that needs to be managed with a specific with a proper lifestyle change, and it goes on over a long period of time. It's not that you pop a pill and the next day you are all right. So this is something that needs to be spoken about with a medical practitioner, and once they have advised you what to do, you need to follow that kind of diet, that kind of regimen. With PCOD, it's much easier to manage as compared to PCOS. However, one word of caution here that I would like to mention is that often we self-diagnose, right? ऐसा होता है ना कि we hear about some kind of psychological illness or some kind of physical illness, or we experience something personally, we just go and Google Baba will tell us that we have something that we are going to die. ऐसा नहीं है. Just because you are experiencing hair loss, or a lot of people feel that unnatural weight gain hota hai, ya periods consecutively 3 months ke liye irregular aate hain, they start fearing that what if I have either of these two conditions. Just having the condition having the symptoms does not mean you have either PCOS or PCOD. A proper examination will need to be done of your entire pelvic region so that the doctors can identify whether there are cysts or not. Because weight gain or hair loss can happen because of other psychosocial conditions, as we were talking about yesterday. So major lifestyle changes, or some traumatic event that might have happened, pollution, one of the major reasons PCOD happens in a lot of people because of urban pollution. So make sure that you do not self-diagnose in these cases. If you feel that any of these symptoms, hair loss or irregular periods or acne, it makes your skin oily. A greater production of androgen will cause more oil to accumulate near your skin region. It can produce more acne. That's one of the symptoms. Also, there can be something called hirsutism, which means an unnatural growth of facial hair around your upper lips, or around your uh, chest region. You might experience some kind of symptoms like that. And if you feel that they are interfering with your daily life, please make sure you consult with your medical practitioner, and they will be able to give you the right kind of diagnosis and accordingly the right kind of treatments, because this is not something that you can self diagnose and treat by yourself. It is a condition that needs to be managed properly by someone who knows what they are doing. So please visit a medical practitioner if you feel any kind of discomfort in your body surrounding these symptoms. So that is largely the difference between PCOD and PCOS, where the severity plays a major role. Apart from that, the causes and the symptoms are very much similar. So that's the first topic that we are going to cover for today. We are moving forward now with the next topic, for which I would like to hand it over to Ashwati.
Yes, thank you very much. Can we have the next slide, please? So right now what we are going to learn about is vaginal discharge. Right. So let's get into it. Let's begin with understanding what vaginal discharge is. Vaginal discharge is a fluid secreted from tiny glands in the vagina and cervix. This fluid leaks from the vagina each day to remove old cells and debris, keeping the vagina and reproductive tract clean and healthy. So, you know, we would have all come across this, when we were young and we had no idea about what vaginal discharge is, and we were not taught about it. We thought of it as, it's something dirty, like what is happening to me, why is this happening at this moment. But we need to realize that vaginal discharge is so common and so normal. It is a way your vagina cleans itself. And if your discharge is the right color and odor, it is healthy and normal and good for you. So we are going to get into what colors and what the consistency should be, and what kind of odor would be bad and you would need to consult a doctor. So let's begin. Okay, the amount of vaginal discharge can vary significantly from person to person. The color, consistency, and amount can also change from day to day depending on where a person is on the menstrual cycle. That includes everything from you bleeding to ovulation, the whole process, right? So from if you are someone who bleeds for 5 days, for example, so from day 1 to day 5, at the beginning of the cycle, the discharge is red, that is your blood. So the blood with other mucus and tissue is flowing out of your body. Then the next few days, that is from day 6 to day 14, a person may notice like less vaginal discharge than usual. As the egg starts to develop and mature, the cervical mucus will become cloudy, white or yellow, and it may feel very sticky. So, and then from day 14 to day 25, few days before ovulation, the mucus will become thin and slippery and similar to the consistency of egg whites. So after ovulation, the mucus will go back to being cloudy, white and yellow and possibly sticky. In the last few days, that is day 25 to 28, the cervical mucus will lighten and person will see less of it before getting their period. So now let's move on to the colors. Can we have the next slide, please? Okay, thank you. Right, so let's first talk about red. The shade of red can vary from bright red to dark rust color. So if red discharge is most commonly result of bleeding during a period. Menstrual bleeding happens on an average around every 28 days, with a normal range between 21 and 35 days. A period typically lasts for 3 to 5 to 7 days. Anyone who experiences bleeding between menstrual periods should see a doctor. That is, after this, if you bleed for 7 days and after the 7 days, maybe on the 13th day, 14th day, you're still bleeding, then that is a cause to go see your doctor, because it might be a result of intermenstrual bleeding, right? So anyone who has gone through menopause and has had not had their period, like after menopause, like after 1 year, if they've not had their period, they should go consult a doctor. So right now, none of you might be at the age of menopause, but you also definitely know about this, like your mothers around or sisters, anybody, if they are going through this, they're 55, 56, and they have reached their menopause, and even after 1 year of not bleeding, they start bleeding. You need to make sure, and you need to explain to them, this is a cause for maybe a little worry. You should definitely go and see your doctor. It can, because it can be a sign of endometrial cancer, so it is extremely important to consult your doctor during those times. So the most common color, let's go to white. So the shade of white can extend to include cream or light yellow. It does not have to be clear pearl white. If a person has no other symptoms, it's just white discharge and no odor. So it is a sign of a healthy discharge, which is good for you and your body. However, if the white discharge has a consistency like cottage cheese, it's a little hard. It's not very sticky or slippery, and if it has a very strong odor, usually it has a fishy smell, if I can say. Anything that does not feel normal to you, anything that does not feel like this is how my vagina or my vulva usually smells, then that should be like a cause of concern. Oh, I might have some kind of an infection. And so mostly what a white, thick, strong smelling discharge can be associated with is a yeast infection, which can cause itching and irritation, right? So moving on to yellow and green discharge. So if your discharge has very slightly yellow hue, it may not indicate a problem. This is especially likely if the hue only coincides with a change in diet or dietary supplements. If you had a major change in lifestyle, so there might be a few changes in your bodily fluids as well. But if the discharge is darker shade of yellow, yellowish green or green, it usually signals a bacterial or sexually transmitted infection. So if you are someone who is sexually active, make sure you all can make sure you are healthy, your vagina, your vulva is healthy, by just having these small checkups, where self checkups, where you can check the color of your discharge, you can check the smell, the odor of the discharge, and you can see if there are any bumps around the vulva which may be a cause of problem. So for people who are sexually active, you all should definitely take care of these things. And if you are like, if your discharge is yellowish green or anything like that, you should definitely consult a doctor. So moving on to pink, you all must have noticed sometimes it gets a little pink. So this discharge can be light or much deeper pink. It usually contains a little bit of blood. Pink discharge most commonly occurs with spotting before a period. However, it can also be a sign of implantation bleeding in early pregnancy. Some people experience a little bit of spotting after ovulation, which can also cause pink discharge. Discharge can be pink after sexual intercourse if the sex has caused small tears or irritations in the vaginal canal or the cervix. Moving on to clear. Most ordinary vaginal discharge is clear or whitish. It may be slippery or have the consistency of egg whites. A person is likely to experience more clear and slippery discharge just before ovulation, during sexual arousal, and during pregnancy. Moving on to gray, which is a sign of like a not healthy reproductive tract, right? So gray vaginal discharge is not healthy, and it can be a symptom of common bacterial infection called bacterial vaginosis. Bacterial vaginosis usually causes other vaginal symptoms as well, including itching, irritation, a strong odor, redness around the vulva or vaginal opening, or anything like that. Anyone with gray discharge should promptly see a doctor. You should make sure you're going to a doctor, consulting a doctor, because it can be like the doctor can prescribe you medicines, antibiotics to treat your bacterial vaginosis. So now let's see what are the things that symptoms that you can keep a track of to go to a doctor. See a doctor if vaginal discharge has an unusual smell or appearance. A person should also seek medical care if they experience vaginal symptoms such as itching, pain or discomfort, discharge that is frothy or cottage cheese like, bleeding between periods or after menopause, spotting after sex regularly, gray, green, or yellow, deep yellow discharge, a very strong odor, a fishy like smell, or something that is usually not what you smell like, and a burning sensation during urination. So the doctor will perform a simple pelvic exam and they may also need to take a sample of discharge for testing. So this is all about vaginal discharge and everything about it. If anybody has any questions regarding to that, y'all can either put it in the question box right now if y'all are comfortable, or we can have it later during the Q&A session also, however y'all want to go forward with it. But if there is anything I can solve for you right now, please let me know. Okay, till then I think we can move on to the next one. Can we have the next slide, please? Painkillers. So, very sadly, there is this myth around painkillers, where in my own house too, like my mom is like, you should not take tablets. It is, I think, around every Indian household where we're never encouraged to take tablets. They're always like discouraging us. They like don't have tablets unnecessarily or things like that. But what this leads to is, so one thing what it leads to is sometimes extremely painful periods, and painful periods are not supposed to be good. So what we are getting so used to the fact that periods are supposed to be painful and I am supposed to go through this pain. We don't have painkillers, which is absolutely unnecessary. I have spoken to doctors. We have had doctors teach us about this certain biological. Certain. I will get to that question in just after this. Certain biological problems, right? So moving on. Sorry, I just lost my train of thoughts while I read the question. But anyway, so we don't need to go through the pain just because we are used to hearing, periods is a painful process. It does not always have to be painful. And if it is extremely painful, it is something you should consult your doctor with. So according to a lot of doctors, periods is having period pills during your periods is extremely normal. You can have maximum 2 pills a day. If your periods are still like your pain is still not subsiding after those 2 pills, then there might be an issue. So like for some menstrual pain is excruciating, and for some it might just be a mild discomfort. There are various myths and beliefs obviously around taking painkiller and consumption during period. So mild doses of painkillers can help to ease menstrual cramps and are safe. It is once again a myth that having painkillers during periods can harm a menstruator's health. In fact, if you suffer from period pains or menstrual cramps, taking mild painkillers like paracetamol, ibuprofen, or meftal can help. It is also a safe way of treating menstrual cramp with medications. Several menstrual cramps are more common in teenagers and young adults. You must have noticed, maybe when you got your periods when you were 11, 13, and now there might have been a change in the amount of pain you feel and the amount of days you feel the pain for. So in such cases, taking even 2 painkillers a day during the first 2 days, like in the beginning of your menstrual journey, is okay. It is safe. However, if you need to take more than 2 painkillers each day of your period, this should make you seek an appointment with your gynecologist. The pains get better with age. Prolonged use of painkillers have side effects. So just because we say 2 pills a day is fine, it does not mean you are taking those pills for years and years to come, because once again they're tablets and they might not be the best for your health. They are good when taken, for example, if my periods are painful for 2 days and I take 2 pills in a week, and I take them for like 2 to 3 months and then there's a break and I'm not always getting painful periods, it's fine. But if you continuously have very painful periods that disrupt you from your daily activities, once again, it's a cause to consult your doctor. Severe cramps should indicate an underlying health crisis. If you need more than 2 painkillers to get relief from menstrual cramps, get checked with your gynecologist, for it could be indicative of an underlying health condition. Severe cramps during periods could be a sign of ovarian cysts, fibroids, PCOD, PCOS, or endometriosis or other pathological problems. Getting an ultrasound scan can help to get to the core of the problem and treat it on time. Apart from severe period cramps, if the pain starts like a week before your cycle and like stays uh, many days after your period is over, it is an indication enough that there might be some underlying cause and you should definitely visit your gynecologist. Just like every medication, once again, ibuprofen, even ibuprofen, paracetamol, and methylphenidate, there will be side effects which could flare up if used for a prolonged period. Some of the common side effects which you should keep in mind are gastric problem, stomach pain, irregular heartbeat, tightening of the chest, dizziness, abdominal cramps, diarrhea, nausea, or vomiting. So these are few things you should keep in mind. Also, once again, a word of caution: even if you take a mild form of painkiller, it is always advisable to speak to your doctor before taking it. But if you might just have like it's your period pains are not regular and it's just a one time thing, then you can definitely buy tablets like methylphenidate. They are extremely safe to use. um, so now that we've established about painkillers during periods, now I want to talk about how you can delay your period. And so there are many times you want to delay your period because they're painful and you're going out on a holiday and you have an important event and you don't want to be in that pain during that time, right? Or you just don't want to bleed during that time, so you might want to delay your period. So if you would like to delay your period, you might be worried about the possible impact on your natural menstrual cycle. So okay, so once again, delaying your periods once in a while, like it cannot be a regular thing. So if you do it like once in 6 months, it is perfectly fine. Once in a year, twice in a year, perfectly fine. But if you are regularly delaying your periods, that can lead to some kind of it can disrupt your natural menstrual cycle. That is what might be an issue, right? So there are many pills you can take, and this is one thing I'll say, like, I'm not going to suggest, advise, recommend any pills here because I am not a medical practitioner, and something like delaying your periods should be definitely consulted by your doctor. Or if anybody in your family uses it for a long time, for example your mother, and she has consulted a doctor and it's an emergency or something, then it's fine, you can use what your mother does. But other than that, you should always consult your doctor, because your doctor will need to understand your natural menstrual cycle, need to understand how your body works, how your body responds to certain things, and accordingly prescribe one. So when taking a tablet, so this depends from tablet to tablet, whichever you take, right? So these are basically just extra progesterone that the pills help your body produce, which delays your periods. So what happens is every pill has a different cycle. Like few pills you have to take 3 days before your periods for like 20 days, like how many ever days you want to prolong your period from, like delay your period from, right? So it depends on the pill you're taking. So definitely just consult your doctor, see which pill they recommend. They will obviously tell you how to take it and how to take care of yourself. And if for example you wanted to delay your period this month, it might take 1 or 2 cycle for your natural for your cycle to become proper and synced, and not like like there is not a huge gap, or your periods don't start too soon. So it might take a cycle or two, but it should get back to normal. And if it doesn't, if there is still a lot of gap or you're getting periods too soon, you should consult your doctor. So that was it for the pills and the vaginal discharge part. I think there was a question which I addressed. If during menopause you get your period after a year, it's not necessarily, yeah. So obviously, it doesn't, everything doesn't necessarily have to be a problem, but it is always suggested, like once you hit your menopause and after that, like after a long stretch of 1 year, you bleed, then you should consult your doctor, because it is a very sensitive age after 55. And uh, females with like the female reproductive organs, you must have noticed a lot of people getting a hysterectomy and things like that. And it's because usually what happens is we do end up getting some kind of problems in our reproductive system. So that is why it is so important to take care of it before something before it gets out of hand. So it is always just good to go consult your doctor. It does not, I did mention endometrial cancer, and it is something very severe. So it does not directly mean something like you might have cancer, but it can be one of the causes, like one of the symptoms, right? This symptom could be one of that. So just like if anybody at your home is bleeding after like 1 to 2 years of menopause, just make sure they go to the gynec and have a checkup. Does anybody have any other questions related to the pills or vaginal discharge or anything like that? We'll wait for a minute. If there are questions, let us know. And then Jiniya will take it forward from here. I think Jiniya, you can start, and if there are questions, we'll address it at the end of the.
Yes, sure. If anything pops up in your mind, then you can of course keep putting it in the chat box. Those who are watching on YouTube, please feel free to do that. So now the information that we wanted to give you regarding these important topics, we are almost through with all of these heavy topics, if I may say so. And we have one important topic towards the end, because many of you had this question about even yesterday, as I had said that I would address them today, regarding nutrition during menstruation. So that is going to be the last chunk of our topic. But before getting into that, I would want to facilitate another activity. So just giving you all 30 seconds. This is going to be a very fun and relaxing activity. So I would need you to have a book or a blank piece of paper, a pen, pencil, sketch pen, if you want to have anything, to write or to draw. This activity will largely involve either writing or drawing based on whatever you personally like and feel comfortable with. So if you want to grab some writing material or something to doodle with or draw using, then you can go and get that quickly. Just 30 seconds. And once you have your things, just put ready in the chat box so I know that we are ready for the activity. It's going to be a short activity, and then we are going to dive straight into the last portion of our topic today, which is nutrition and how to take care of yourself during menstruation. Okay, I think we have two questions. What should we do during period cramps, and home remedies for preventing any infections and keeping a good vaginal health? I assume you wanted to ask that. Okay, so we can take up both these questions while we are doing the last bit, as in how to take care of yourself. So I will be addressing this. Okay, all those of you who are ready, just put ready in the chat box.
Can a volunteer make sure the questions on top are noted down before we get all the readies?
Yes.
So we don't miss any of it.
So Ashwati, would you like to answer this question? I think there was something about birth control pills.
Sure, I'm thinking like you continue with the session, and in the end we'll do this during the Q&A session.
Yeah, sure.
Let's not disrupt the session. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. Perfect. Okay, so I have gotten many readies from all of you. That's awesome. So I'm going to give you two statements now, and you have to pick either one of these two statements, whichever resonates with you the most, right? Because this is a mixed group. Some of us are menstruators, some of us are non menstruators. So, out of both of these statements, whichever resonates with you, you can pick that up. And then I just want you to go back to that safe space that you had gone to in the beginning while we were relaxing and getting into this frame of mind. I'm going to play music again. We are just going to take about 2 to 3 minutes for this. And based on that statement, in the context of whatever we have learned, whatever you know, whatever you have experienced, you can either doodle, you can either draw, or you can write anything that comes to mind. It could be statements, it could be phrases, it could be words, it could be a poem if you want to become creative. But it's your own personal space. I will not ask you to share anything over here because this is a public platform. This is something completely for you. So, in the context of menstruation and periods, whatever it is that comes to mind, it doesn't have to be an object that you are drawing, it doesn't have to be anything concrete, it doesn't have to make sense to anyone who reads it or sees it. It's your personal experience, your personal journey, right? So the first statement that I am you can note down the statement if you want on the top. The first statement here: I am an empowered menstruator. I am an empowered menstruator. This is the first statement. For those of you who would like to take the statement, you can do so. And the second statement: periods are normal, end the stigma. Periods are normal, a semicolon or a comma, end the stigma. These are your two statements. Pick whichever you want to. And I'm now going to play some music. So just collect your thoughts. We'll give this 3 minutes and then we will dive straight into the last topic for the day. So I hope we are all set for this. Let's go. Relax yourself completely. Don't think too much. Just put down whatever it is that comes to your mind. Feel free to use this as your own safe space, as your own personal journal, your personal entry, your diary, to put in whatever it is that you have felt, that you have experienced, that you want to say, or that you have been told, something new that you might have learned, anything, absolutely anything that's coming to mind related to the two statements. Periods are normal, end the stigma. I am an empowered menstruator. Let your thoughts flow. Allow your imagination to go wherever it is taking you. No one is going to question you on what you have drawn or written. No one is judging you. This is completely your personal entry. And it is something that you are going to keep as a reminder of both of these days that we have spent together. Whatever you have learned, whatever you have felt, whatever you have understood, what you want to take forward with you on your journey, whether you are a menstruator or not. Let's take 1 minute more. You might feel like your mind is completely blank, and that's okay. Whenever you feel like a word pops up in your mind or an object that you feel like you want to draw, just put that down on your paper. 20 seconds. Let's gather ourselves and get back slowly to this space. You can close your books or keep your pens and papers away now. Take a deep breath in and exhale. All right. Welcome back to the room. Just quickly, till we get started with the last topic for today, just put in the chat box, how did the activity make you feel? You don't have to put in anything you have written or anything you have drawn. Just wanted to understand, how did the activity make you feel? What emotions came up, or any thoughts, if you feel comfortable sharing. Just quickly, a few responses, and then we dive straight into the last and the fun topic for today. Thank you, Shilpa, for your response. Quickly, a few more responses. So this is an activity that you can, of course, choose to do at your leisure. I'm glad it made many of you feel at peace, feel free, feel relaxed. Definitely, if you want to get more into this space and explore more about yourself, feel free to take out some time and just devote that time only to doing this activity. Now, because we are in a time-bound session today, we had to wrap it up quickly, but it's a really good way to get in touch with your own self, with your own body, and understand what your body is trying to tell you, which is one of the important things that we are now going to be talking about. Thank you so much, everyone, for your responses and your participation. Can I have the next slide, please? Awesome. All right. So some of the questions that had come in yesterday, today, over the course of yesterday, and in general, were related to this topic that we are going to cover today. It's regarding nutrition during menstruation, and in general, some general things on how to take care of yourself, right? So many of your questions will get answered in this section. If there is anything else that you feel you want me to address, then I will definitely answer that in the Q&A. So quickly getting into this chunk here, the first and most important part here, which we have stressed about 5,000 times since yesterday, is listen to your body, right? That is very, very important for all of us to remember here. It's because this is something that we are going through. I'm specifically addressing the menstruators here right now, those who do menstruate. Only you understand what's going on in your body. So make sure you listen to it, right? That will give you more answers than anybody else in the world can, right? So having said that, let's move on to some of the general things that you can do as a menstruator. And even if you're a non-menstruator, if you want to support someone who is a new menstruator or who needs some kind of help regarding this, these are some of the things that can be done. So first of all, it's important to know that menstruation is not a problem or a disease that needs to be treated with any kind of specific type of food or, any specific kind of diet. Okay, so like yesterday in the visualization, there was one part where I mentioned that I asked you to imagine that your parents were giving you separate boiled food and bland food, right? And of course, that will not make you feel comfortable if you are used to you eating a certain kind of thing. So remember, for menstruation, there is no specific foreign alien diet that you need to follow, because it's a natural bodily process and you only have to maintain what you do in order to have a general healthy lifestyle. So a balanced diet is very, very important here. So of course, just to jog your memories, a balanced diet includes all of these components. You have your carbs, you have proteins, you have fats, minerals, vitamins, fiber. Once you have included all of these in your diet, you are good to go. You don't need to have anything extra or anything special just during menstruation. If you're included all of this already in your diet, that's very good. If you feel you haven't, you can feel free to make those changes anytime. It doesn't matter whether you are on your periods or not, right? And of course, this is just general suggestion for menstruators who have a regular menstrual cycle. If you have any specific conditions, like I had mentioned, PCOS or PCOD, where you need to manage your body fat, you need to manage the weight of your body, then whatever food you need to have, it's best to consult a nutritionist, because they will accordingly help you with a diet plan that suits your body needs. That is important. Next, we have PMS. So I had gotten a question here saying, is PMS normal? Absolutely, PMS or premenstrual syndrome is very, very normal. And according to research done on a group of women, almost 80 to 90% of women have experienced one or more symptoms related to PMS. And these symptoms are completely manageable. It's not something that's disrupting your daily flow of life. So premenstrual syndrome, even though there is no hard or solid evidence to say why PMS occurs, it's just something that's observed. It's a pattern that's observed in a large group of menstruators. And so it's completely normal. It definitely happens. So you don't have to worry about, because PMS is a term that sometimes gets thrown around very loosely, why are you PMSing? Right? So it's completely normal. Understand that you can have symptoms like acne, you can have sore breasts, you might feel like, bloating in your stomach. There can be either constipation or diarrhea. You might have headaches. As long as you're able to manage it using these home remedies like herbal teas, aromatherapy. Someone had asked about, how to get rid of cramps, if I'm not mistaken. What was the question? Okay, what should we do during period cramps? So of course, things like sometimes having having some kind of soothing herbal tea will help you. That's one home remedy you can do. Yesterday, someone had mentioned that, you can add a little bit of asafoetida to water and drink that, or just rub some essential oils onto your belly in circular motions. And in order to, ease the cramp, you can also put hot water bags. These things generally help with respect to PMS. Another very important thing that happens in case of PMS is sugar cravings. Even if you are not PMSing during periods, a lot of menstruators feel like they want to have something sugary, right? So a practicing nutritionist, I have spoken to him personally, and he generally advises this to his clients. So he says that, like I was mentioning yesterday as well, don't feel guilty about having these cravings. Listen to your body. If your body is telling you that it wants to have something sugary, eat it. It's fine. For 2 to 3 days, you will experience it, and then you will feel that everything is going back to normal. Don't be harsh on yourself, that just because I'm following a particular kind of diet and I had sugar today, it means, aise hi maine cheat day kar liya. Don't be harsh on your body. If you have sugar cravings, definitely eat it. But here also, there are some healthy ways to manage your sugar cravings. One of the things is, generally we do know when our cycle is approaching, right? So when you feel like within 2-3 days your date is approaching, what you can do is prepare something healthy in advance, so that you don't have to resort to having something that might make you feel like you're eating unhealthy. For example, suppose 2-3 दिन में मेरे periods आ रहे हैं, मैंने क्या किया, frozen yogurt घर पे बना लिया. I didn't have to go out anywhere else. It's an option that I have at home. Completely safe, completely healthy. I did kha liya. Or fruits also have sugar content in them. So fruits with yogurt, that's one option that you can have. If you are someone who likes namkeen, salty food more than sweet, then you can have nuts or seeds, which are much healthier. So almonds, walnuts, pistachios, you can have these things. So it doesn't always have to be that you are, binging on pizza or chocolate. You can. I don't mean to, say that it's wrong to have all of this. You can do that. But if you are feeling too conscious of your health and yet want to satisfy your sugar cravings, you can definitely do this, right? Okay. Also, another thing here is mood swings. So many of us experience mood swings. That's another very common, which is seen during PMS. So if you're having mood swings, if it is not interfering with your daily life, don't have to worry about it. But some of the activities you can do: journaling, just like what we did today, brain dump journaling. Take your journal, keep writing constantly. Don't think about grammar. What am I writing? Where am I going? Stream of consciousness, keep writing. Whatever is in your mind, whatever emotions you're feeling, put it down, right? Because we often go around, projecting our emotions and our anxiety and irritability onto other people at this time, but it's often not fair to them, right? Just because we are experiencing symptoms of PMS, or just because we are on our periods, it does not give us a license to be mean to someone or to be rude to someone. So take your journal, be in your own space, and just put it down. It will help you calm yourself. Also, as I've mentioned below, low to moderate intensity aerobic exercises, some kind of body movement, some light dancing, shaking your body will help you. Some yogasanas specifically during periods to ease the stomach cramps which happen because the muscles around your uterus are contracting. That can help. Breathing exercises, be mindful, be in the present. That's something that will help you. Also, general things, stay hydrated. Drink water, drink loads of water. Many of us in today's times don't drink water in general, but make sure you keep your body hydrated. Maintain a regular sleep pattern. Try and avoid staying up too late, or messing around with your sleep pattern. You might feel like you're not feeling sleepy or anything, but try to adjust your body clock as much as possible and have a generally set kind of schedule, so that it doesn't mess up with the natural body clock. Also, anything else that I am missing out over here? No, I think I have covered everything on that I wanted to mention on this slide. And of course, lastly, the last text is missing here. But what I was going to say there is that menstruation it's a very personal journey, as we spoke about yesterday as well. You need to get in touch with your own body, be attuned to your own body, see what it needs, hear what it needs. Don't neglect it. Don't be too harsh on it. And once you have done this, you will definitely be able to live a healthy and a happy life. So this was all about how you can take care of yourself. Nothing too specific that you need to do. If you feel like any of the symptoms are interfering with your body, please consult your doctor. But apart from that, these general things can just help you deal with this in daily life. So I've covered some of the questions here. We have gotten some more, which I have made a note of. Okay, someone, Riddhi has mentioned we can use apps like Flow. Absolutely. So apps like Flow, you do have a free version that you can use to track your date, so that you know whether your cycles are regular, whether you're feeling any kind of irregularity. You can log in your mood, you can log in the symptoms you're experiencing, and then the apps kind of are smart enough to give you predictions. But if you feel some major irregularity, don't rely on something like apps. It's always best to speak to a practitioner. So we can now get into the questions one by one, and we will get these questions answered if there are any more. So Ashwati, you can take up any questions that you might have wanted to answer. I'll also check in my list if there's anything that I have missed out.
Right, sure. So Janvi Raj Purohit has asked a very important question. I'm so glad she did, because, okay, the question is, are the pills which are used to delay periods same as birth control pills? This is so important for everybody to know, and it can cause to serious problems and this misunderstanding can cause to serious problems, right? So a birth control pill delays your period, but a pill that particularly delays your period is not birth control. It does not mean you will not ovulate during that time, or if you can have, like, it does not mean you can have unprotected sex at that time. So you all can't interchangeably use these pills, right? Birth control pills when you're on birth control, and if your pills you don't get your periods that time, that is what birth control pills work like. But period delaying pills are not birth control pills. They will delay your periods, but they won't protect you from unwanted pregnancy. So that was a very good question. I hope it was clear. And okay, so moving on to a few more questions that I got from your Google form. Somebody had asked, right, this is about period clots. We got this yesterday. Sometimes during your period, there are more clots than usual. What is the reason for that? Right. So it is very normal to get blood clots when you're bleeding, when you're on your period, especially on day 1 and 2, because of the heavy bleeding that we face during those 2 days. But also, The things you should look after and take care of are, make sure they're not excessive, there isn't a lot of clotting, and the size, if they are really big in size, that is something you should definitely consult your doctor too. So the person who asked this question, or anybody here, if you all are getting excess amount of blood clots in your menstrual cycle, in your period flow, it can be a cause for problems. So it is definitely something you should check out your doctor with. So that was the blood clot question. And then one second. Which pads are biochemically perfect for usage? I'm assuming you're asking what types of sanitary pads are good for you. So never has a doctor ever mentioned to me like the pads that I've been using that are the name brand, that are Whisper, Stay Free, Always, pads like these. They have never said that they are bad for your health or anything like that. So I I think it is, if you are using these products, it is obviously fine for you to go ahead with it. But if you want to, you can switch to reusable products, because at the end of the day they're eco-friendly and they're not, they don't have chemicals, so there is no way it can harm your body at all. I will drop a link in the chat box. So the organization that we work for, that is Paddling Foundation, has created a guide on Instagram. It's a guide for reusable and eco-friendly menstrual products. Also, if anyone can just take, like, make sure you send this on your groups and everywhere, so people can have it even after the meeting is over, that would be great, the link. And then the next question, okay, I'll be taking this question up last. Jiniya, why don't you continue with your questions?
Yes, sure. So I think it was Janvi again who asked, why do we have sugar cravings specifically? So there could be a number of reasons, and mostly it often happens due to an imbalance between the blood sugar levels in your body. So as I was mentioning, insulin, when there is some kind of imbalance, and usually that happens because there are a lot of hormones being released: estrogen, progesterone, luteinizing hormone, FSH, as we spoke about yesterday. Because the estrogen levels are higher, sometimes what happens, the blood sugar level drops, and so it sends a signal to our brain saying that the sugar level has dropped and we need it to be replenished. And so that's why we feel like having more sugar at this point of time. And usually in PCOD, PCOS, because of insulin resistance, this happens much more. And so it becomes a cycle where you keep having sugary stuff, your weight keeps on increasing, and because of the increase in weight, the severity of the condition also continues in the same way. So in order to manage that, we need to resort to some healthier options and a better diet. That's one of the questions. And I think I addressed the previous ones, the home remedies to cure cramps, the essential oils, hot water bags, and to maintain good vaginal health. Just, you don't have to resort to any fancy product. Just generally wash it regularly, especially when you're on your periods, as Ashwati was mentioning yesterday as well. You might need to wash it more often than you regularly do, but just make sure it's completely clean. Make sure if there is no unusual smell or anything. If there is, then of course you have to consult a doctor. Otherwise, just washing it with water and maintaining general personal hygiene will do the job for you. Also, there are two similar questions I got. What can be the cure for delayed periods every month? So it's not like you can pop in a pill and your periods will come back to normal. Nowadays, because most of us are from an urban space, because of pollution, because of various lifestyle changes, because of staying up late at night, lots of exposure to different kinds of things and all of that, the hormones constantly keep fluctuating in the body. So there is no like one thing cures all kind of a solution to this. It's fine if your cycle goes from 28 days to say 30 days. If there are major changes, say you skip your periods for one whole month and then it occurs, and this keeps occurring time and again, you might have to get checked for any other conditions you might have. So it could be because of thyroidism, So I personally have hypothyroidism, because of which I experience irregular periods. It can be hyperthyroidism, it can be hypothyroidism, it can be something else altogether. It can be a possibility of someone might have diabetes and that might interfere. So there's an interplay of various factors. Once or twice irregularity is completely fine, don't worry. But again, the same thing, if it's interfering with your body, if you are feeling discomfort, go to your doctor. Same way, any side effects of an irregular period cycle, nothing major usually, but if your period cycles are irregular, you might experience cramps all of a sudden, maybe a few days before your periods, or abdominal pain a few days after your periods. Why do some girls feel abdominal pain 3 to 4 days after menstruation? Someone has asked. It might not entirely be the reproductive system's fault. It could be something else as well, right? So you can experience symptoms like, pain during sex, or unnecessary spotting in between your periods. There can be various reasons, there can be various kinds of reasons. So you cannot self diagnose the reasons until and unless you get your pelvic region checked. So it's completely normal to have these things like mild cramps, because the uterus muscles contract and expand. So that is completely fine. You might experience pimples coming out, your skin gets oily. Apart from that, there are generally no side effects of an irregular cycle. I think that's it. Yeah, is PMS normal? I already addressed that, saying yes, PMS is very normal. Yes, those were all the questions that I had on my list, and I don't think anything else is left out. Yeah, I think that was all.
Definitely.
Sorry.
So, no, Ashwati ma'am, you can go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, if y'all have any other questions, the chat box is always open. Please continue.
I was moving ahead to the Q&A section.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
session has been insightful and as lively as it was. And I'm sure that all the information that you have provided us is vital and essential. I now request my co-volunteer, Janivi Rajpurohit, to take ahead with the Q&A session.
Okay, hello everyone. All the volunteers present in the meet can either raise their hand for any questions, or they can type it in the chat box.
Okay, so while everybody is typing, there was one question in the Google form that I would like to address.
Sure.
So can you just turn on the PPT once again? In the next slide. Right. So one question we got was, what can be done to create awareness in rural areas? Okay. So, for example, our foundation called Paddling Foundation, we go to various places. We go to rural areas to not only educate them about periods, but also we provide pads, we provide reusable cloth pads. So we're not just helping them, for one cycle, we're helping them for 4 to 6 years to come. Right. So, for example, you can either join hands with an organization like this, or you can clubs like Rotract and NSS, y'all do social activities, right? So y'all can go to any rural area. You all don't particularly need a formal notice or anything like that. Y'all can just go there, talk to a few people, and gather the crowd and just teach them about periods. And one thing you have to be very sure of, very thorough about, is it's a very sensitive area there. So while we might be very open minded, and while we might understand a lot of things properly, and we might work things with logic, um, like religious sentiments do mean a lot in rural areas, which we cannot just address with, like, we just cannot be like, okay, but this is the logic, and we just cannot tell them ki no, you shouldn't be following this, or things like that. So you should keep those things in mind when you all go to rural areas. You all can The main thing should be, obviously myth busting is one of the most important things, but always keep in mind the religious sentiments and teach them about the biology of how what happens during periods, why is it happening, and teach them things like menstrual hygiene, like how to take care during those particular days, about pregnancy cares and things like that. So, can you go to the next slide? There are just a few pictures. That's the cloth pad we provide. It comes in a pack of three. And these are just few pictures we clicked during our on-ground sessions where we teach and provide pads. So once again, since I have such a big stage, like I have such a big stage to talk on right now, I would like to mention that supporting one menstruator, all it takes for 4 to 6 years is 200 rupees. I know it is not, 200 rupees is not a lot of amount for a lot of us, because that's something we spend, when we're going to college canteen. That's something we easily spend there. So maybe, one day's college canteen food you skip or anything like that. And if you can help out one menstruator, you'll be taking up one menstruator's responsibility for 4 to 6 years. So the pads we provide have three pads each, and they can be used for 4 to 6 years if taken care properly, which we do tell them how to do when we are providing the pads. I will just drop the link of our organization's web page where you can obviously donate. Once again, it is a voluntary this is completely voluntary and not a, but like, since I have such a big platform, I would love to speak for these people who would need help, which, just imagine not having pads during your periods. It sounds horrible. So if you can help, please go to our page and donate. Something as little as 200 can help a menstruator out for 4 to 6 years. Okay, there are a few questions I think we can answer. You can turn off the PPT. Thank you very much, Anna. Jinya, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Right. So I think there is a
Okay.
nutrition related question.
Okay, yeah, more than 1 cup of coffee. So there's no like fixed parameter as such, but in general, we are asked to avoid things like alcohol and caffeine during menstruation, because again, it interferes with the hormonal imbalance in your body, because the caffeine or whatever alcohol, if you intake that, it's going and getting absorbed with your blood, and of course, along with all the hormonal changes which are going on in your body. Between all of this, it can cause certain changes which might disrupt your natural flow, or it might cause something like a heavier flow, or it might cause a premature your flow to stop prematurely. So just because you want to maintain a natural balance in your body, caffeine is not a very healthy thing and is not advised. If you feel like having a cup of coffee, of course you can do that, but avoid too much of an intake. Just like you can't keep having a full packet of chocolates all at once, it's unhealthy. So just to regulate your hormonal levels, your blood sugar levels, caffeine is avoided. You're asked to avoid caffeine. That's the only reason. Yeah.
Okay, we'll wait 2 to 3 more minutes. We'll wait for any questions and then we'll move forward.
I think there were a few people raising their hands. If anybody needs to
Heard
unmute
that?
and ask,
Yeah.
then please go ahead.
You can raise your hand again.
It's possible that some question might come up to you after we have finished our session. So, of course, please feel free to visit the website, or you can write to us definitely, and we'll try our best to help you. Because this 2 day session was just meant to give you an overview and an awareness of this. There are many more factors you can explore in detail. So, something that might come up later can also be addressed by us or by any other menstrual health educator. So, there's nothing to worry.
Anybody who wants to unmute and ask, they can go ahead. Okay, I guess there are no more questions. Every question is answered, I guess, in the two-day session. Okay, now I would like to call upon my co-volunteer Bhairavi Hiremat to present the vote of thanks. Bhairavi, you can take over.
Okay, so before I give the vote of thanks, I would like to tell everybody that the feedback link for today's session will be provided in the chat box. So make sure that you fill the form to acquire your certificates. And note that the certificates will be provided to only those who have successfully attended both the days of the webinar. And those who are attending the webinar from YouTube, the feedback link will be provided in the description box till 5:30. So make sure you fill it before that. Okay. So now I would. Yeah,
Bhairavi,
Janvi, you want to
just
say
a minute.
something? Hmm.
Yeah, there is Shilpa Balasara. Do you have anything to ask, Shilpa?
हेलो
Yeah, go ahead.
कल एंड आज दोनों के लिए फीडबैक लिंक फिल करना है
हाँ, दोनों के लिए करना है and then you will get your certificates. Okay.
एक्चुअली कल मैंने नहीं किया था तो सिर्फ आज करूंगी तो चलेगा लाइक मैं
Were you
मीटिंग
not?
में तो लेफ्ट हो गई नहीं एंड मोमेंट पे मैं बाय बोल के लेफ्ट हो गई ना तो मैं वो लिंक कॉपी करना ही भूल गई थी
Okay,
मैंने
शिल्पा
आई गेस
आप
अनन्या दीदी को मैसेज डाला था कि लिंक भेजना करके आई गेस वो भूल गए थे फिर
ओके शिल्पा हम आपके साथ ये मीट के बाद वी विल अप्रोच यू ओके चलेगा
ओके ओके ठीक है
Yeah,
हाँ
thank you.
हाँ ओके वेलकम
Okay, Bhairavi, you can take.
All right. So I, Bhairavi Hiremat, on behalf of the NSS unit of KJ Somaiya College of Arts and Commerce Autonomous, extend my deepest gratitude to our articulate facilitators, Ms. Jiniya Chatterjee and Ms. Ashwati Nair, for the wonderful two-day session they have conducted with us. We feel fortunate to have facilitators who helped us address often unnoticed concepts like PCOD, PCOS, the difference between normal and abnormal vaginal discharges, and how it's perfectly safe to take painkillers if you don't exceed the limit of intake, and how a proper diet that can be followed without suppressing your cravings. Today, as we are coming to an end of our two-day webinar, I am certain that the 2 days have been very productive and enjoyable for everyone present here. The knowledge acquired was practical, unique, and extremely important. I thank the facilitators for welcoming all the doubts and queries of our audience and encouraging everyone, and not just the menstruators, to start a conversation about menstruation and menstrual health. I'd like to further go on and thank our Honorable In Charge Principal, Dr. Veena Sanikar Ma'am, for her wisdom, and to the NSS Program Officer, CA Amol Bhosle Sir, and Professor Dipali Toraskar Ma'am, for enabling us with their support and guidance, due to which the NSS team is able to experience such wonderful sessions. Sincere thanks to all our respected committee members for their encouragement. Last, but definitely not the least, I would like to thank the audience. The purpose of this webinar was to educate and make people aware of different aspects related to menstrual health, and how by simply starting a conversation, we can bring about a change. And this purpose was filled due to our amazingly enthusiastic audience who actively participated in this webinar and made it a huge success. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bhairavi. I agree with each and every word of yours. The session has now officially concluded. All the attendees and volunteers are free to leave the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you so much for giving us this platform. It was a pleasure to interact with all of you. Thanks for the great participation, and to the entire unit of NSS, of the entire College of KJ Somaiya, all the committee members and volunteers. Thank you so much.
It's all ours.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It was a wonderful 2-day session. We had a great time. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.